All right, I'm going to let everybody in.
Thanks.
All right, we will go ahead and get started. So welcome to the TSET Built Environment Activity Grant Application webinar. I'm Amanda Cribbs, TSET's training manager, and I will be your moderator for today. And before we begin, I do have a few housekeeping items. Please use the chat box to let me know if you are experiencing any technical difficulties. We will capture any questions that you have as part of the QA process for the grant opportunity. And the webinar is being recorded and will be uploaded to the TSET website within 2 working days. You can scan this QR code to access the grant application as we walk through it. You can also take a photo on your phone so you can access the link later. To do that, just take a picture with your QR code and save it to your photos. Then when you need to access the webinar, you can use that photo to take you to the link just by clicking on that photo. All right, so welcome and thank you again for joining us for the TSET Built Environment Physical Activity Grant Application webinar. The purpose of this webinar is to provide information about TSET's Built Environment Physical Activity Grant and the timeline associated with it. The webinar will also acquaint you with TSET's mission and purpose and how TSET grants make an impact in our communities and state. Today's presenters are TSET Executive Director Julie Bisbee, Director of Grants Management Kelly Parker, and Engagement Impact Senior Program Manager Andrew Undercuffer. To begin learning about the Built Environment Physical Activity Grant, let's watch a short video. There will be a brief moment of silence while I start the video.
Somewhere in Altus, Oklahoma, a rural doctor is treating patients close to home.
Somewhere in Goodwell, young hands are harvesting a labor of love.
From Drumright to Seminole,
Muskogee to Millwood High School.
TSET is saving lives by supporting tobacco-free lifestyles, cancer research, and funding for healthier schools and communities.
Somewhere in Alusty, the next generation is breathing tobacco-free air. The Tobacco Settlement Endowment Trust.
Making Oklahoma healthier, somewhere near you.
Hey, good morning. I'm Julie Bisbee, the Executive Director of TSET, and I want to take a moment to acquaint you with TSET. Many of you may know us, but I always take the opportunity to share what we're doing. So our mission is to improve the health of Oklahomans, and we do that through accountable programs and services like these grants that you are learning about today. And we do that to address the hazards of tobacco use and other health issues in our state. Next, there we go. All right, so we were created by voters in 2000. So thank you to the people of Oklahoma for helping to create the Endowment Trust, which uses only the earnings to fund grants and programs. And that trust was created after our state, like many others, sued Big Tobacco for the harms that they caused the state, as well as their efforts to lie, to deceive, and to say that nicotine is not addictive. Oklahoma is the only state that has an endowment like that. So you may hear numbers out there about the value of the endowment, and that is a success for the people of Oklahoma that we've been able to safeguard these payments. The tobacco industry still makes a payment to Oklahoma and many other states and will continue to do so as long as cigarettes are sold. And so our state is well positioned to use the interest and the earnings from that endowment to fund grants and programs that help to bring healthy choices to your communities, your schools, and your organizations. And we know that Oklahoma has health challenges. There are 3 behaviors that lead to 4 conditions that are causing more than half of our deaths. These things can be prevented if we can start with healthy habits early. We don't have to help people make those hard choices to kind of backtrack and change. So we're looking at 3 behaviors: poor diet, tobacco use, and sedentary lifestyle. And you're here today because you're interested in being part of that solution to get Oklahomans up and moving. We know that these 3 behaviors lead to the 4 conditions: lung disease, heart disease and stroke, cancer and diabetes, that are taking Oklahoma lives too soon. And we can make a difference. We're looking at changing those behaviors that are causing 58% of deaths, including many premature deaths. And that doesn't include disability or loss of the ability to work or have good quality of life. So we're excited there are so many of you here today, because that means you want to partner to help create a healthier Oklahoma and also improve quality of life for your friends and neighbors. And the good news is what we've been doing for more than 20 years is making a difference. I know health change can sometimes take a long time, but we're seeing the fruits of our labor. We're seeing adult smoking cut nearly in half since our programming started. More than 6,000 registrations to the Oklahoma Tobacco Helpline since 2003. And we're currently running a limited time offer, so folks that register can get extra weeks of nicotine replacement therapy. We know that when folks get extra help, they're more likely to quit. And I'm also really proud of this youth smoking reduction. That's something that all Oklahomans should be very proud of. That we know that our young people are not smoking cigarettes at the same rate that they were when this work started. That's important because we know if you don't start, you don't have to quit, but also tobacco use is, reducing tobacco use is part of supporting an overall healthier Oklahoma. So some good news there that I hope every one of us, takes heart in and feels that we are part of that progress. And now I would like to introduce Andrew Underkoffler, our Senior Program Manager, to go through some of the components of this funding opportunity.
Thank you, Julie. The fiscal year 26 TSET Built Environment Physical Activity Grant includes expanded funding for built environment initiatives that aim to improve access to opportunities for physical activity. A total of $6.9 million is allocated to this grant. This funding reflects a strategic focus on addressing some of the root causes associated with chronic disease. Those being poor physical activity being a major contributor to chronic diseases such as diabetes, heart disease, and obesity. Many communities, especially in rural and underserved communities, lack environments that allow for safe and accessible opportunities for physical activity. This grant helps empower local leaders to identify solutions to support long-term wellness of their citizens. This grant aims to bridge gaps in the built environment by providing local level solutions aimed to impact community health. It is also central to TSET's mission, which is to improve the health and quality of life of all Oklahomans. Within this opportunity, you'll see 2 overall categories of funding. The first is planning and design of small to medium-sized projects. This is an award of up to $150,000 up to 12 months. Within this, you'll see 3 different areas or tracks: parks and open spaces, safe routes to schools, grocery stores, and parks, and then pre-K through 12 school-based built environment projects that promote physical activity. Applicants may only select one specific strategy funding track per grant application. Applications that span multiple funding tracks or projects that do not align with any funding track will not be considered. The second is construction implementation, which funds up to $300,000 per year for up to 2 years. The same tracks can be found under this opportunity: parks and open spaces, safe routes to schools, grocery stores and parks, and pre-K through 12 school-based built environment projects that promote physical activity. Again, applicants may only select one specific strategy funding track per grant application. Eligible application organization types are dependent upon the strategy funding track that is selected. You'll see here a breakdown of applicant eligibility by funding tracks. Tracks 1 and 2, parks and open spaces and safe routes, share the same eligibility list. So institutions of common and higher education, Oklahoma local government being city, town, or county, 501c3 organizations in partnership with a municipality, tribal nations, pre-K through 12 public school district, and a pre-K through 12 public school site. As a state of Oklahoma government agency, TSET funds cannot be used directly or indirectly to advance or promote religious beliefs or to inhibit or discriminate against the religious beliefs of others, and cannot be used to benefit or support any priest, preacher, minister, or other religious teacher. Events can be held at places of worship if they are open to the public. TSET can support activities at places of worship if the activities are accessible to all and religious language, symbols, books, or written information are not used to promote a TSET-sponsored project or event. Then lastly, with track 3 of public schools, pre-K through 12th grade, applicant organizations include pre-K through 12 public school district, pre-K through 12 public school site, nonprofit 501c3 organization that operates as a school site for specific populations, and tribal nations that operate a school site. Some different requirements for this grant. The first one being match funding. Confirmed match funding is required for construction implementation projects impacting a population size over 10,000 people. Match is based on the size of the population to be served by the project. I believe on page 12 of the RFA, you'll find instructions on how to determine potential reach for projects depending on what your organization type is. You'll see a breakdown that includes these numbers that I'm about to share with you, but for population sizes between 10,000 and 29,999, match is required for 5% of the total project costs. For those between 30,000 and 49,999, match is required for 10%. And then for populations over 50,000, match is required for 15% of the total project costs. Match funding is not required for planning and design projects. TSET is a constitutionally created state agency and must comply with all state laws. Oklahoma law prohibits payment for goods and services in advance, so according to the Oklahoma Central Purchasing Act. Therefore, all awards are paid on a reimbursement basis. Awarded organizations must be able to expend funds up front before TSET can reimburse for any charges. Projects are also expected to expend at least 95% of their awarded funds within the grant period. Applicant organizations must have a brick and mortar office located in Oklahoma at the time of application. The project area or property where the project will be located also must be owned or under the control of the applicant at the time of submitting the grant application. Awards will not be made to organizations that receive funds or benefit from tobacco sales. And then applicant organizations must also have signed and dated tobacco-free and wellness policies in place at the time of application. These policies must align with the requirements outlined in the RFA, where you can also find sample policies. All eligible applicant organizations must be in good standing with the Oklahoma Secretary of State. During TSET's technical review of submitted grant applications, we will make sure that all applicant eligibility requirements are met. If they are not met, the application will not receive a full review. Depending on the scope and purpose of the proposed project, TSET may assign an external evaluator to support implementation and/or develop a follow-up evaluation focused on public use of the project. Applicants are required to collaborate with the assigned evaluator and support all activities outlined in the external evaluation plan, including data collection, site visits, and reporting. Successful applicants shall also support project awareness of TSET's funding through project communications, recognition of funding, permanent signage, and in-partner and donor communications. This is a key requirement in ensuring the visibility of TSET's mission in Oklahoma. A plan to publicly promote the project and intended schedule of events, when applicable, is required if funding is approved. This funding opportunity is intended to support the development of plans or the construction of projects that improve access to and encourages physical activity within communities. Projects should be small to medium size in scale. You'll find this in the RFA, but a small project is shovel or launch ready and can be started and completed within 6 to 8 weeks. A medium project is also shovel or launch ready and can be started and completed with 18 to 20 months. The project must be site-specific and shovel-ready. Shovel readiness refers to projects that are prepared for immediate or near immediate start within 75 days of the grant start date. For construction implementation projects, this means the project is fully designed and all necessary approvals and permits have been attained. Again, match funding is required for construction projects if serving a population of 10,000 plus. The proposed project must be located at a single project site. Projects that occur at detached or unconnected locations will not be considered for review. The project also must take place in and serve Oklahomans. Projects should include a project plan that includes all major project milestones and key deliverable dates, which must be submitted with the application using the TSET provided template that you can find in the RFA attachments. The project must be accessible to the public during reasonable usage hours. Projects that are exclusively available to only the applicant organization's staff and/or clients are not eligible for funding. Using the provided project staffing plan template, applicants should identify an authorized official, a project manager, and financial officer. You can find descriptions for each of those positions on this slide here. As you'll see, each role has unique responsibilities. Therefore, they should not all be fulfilled by the same person within the agency. These roles should be assigned to staff directly employed by the applicant agency and not a third-party subcontractor. Funding may be requested for a construction project manager. However, personnel costs should remain proportionate and should not supersede the costs associated with design, planning, and/or other infrastructure-related services. TSET staff will communicate with a designated representative, in this case, the project manager, as you'll see on the slide here, from the applicant's agency. Any communication with a grant subcontractor should remain between the applicant agency and identified subcontractor. Those project managers should remain actively engaged with their identified subcontractors. TSET staff will not work solely and typically do not communicate with grantee subcontractors. Now for some project examples. So here on this slide, you'll see some planning and design and also construction implementation project examples for parks and open spaces. So for planning and design, things like parks, open spaces, and greenway plans and designs, master plan development, design of a portion or portions of an existing parks and open spaces plan. And then for construction implementation, infrastructure improvements such as sidewalks, walking and biking trails and lanes, pedestrian wayfinding, refurbishing of existing indoor or outdoor physical activity spaces like basketball courts, tennis courts, etc. Even better, here's some real-world examples of parks and open spaces construction implementation projects that TSET has previously funded. So new playground equipment, new walking or bike trails, refurbished outdoor courts. We've seen basketball courts, pickleball, tennis, etc. For safe routes, here's some additional examples. I won't read through all of them, but things like walkability and bikeability assessments, safe routes designs, sidewalk infrastructure improvements, pedestrian wayfinding. And then we've got some more photos. As you can see here, here's some examples of what I just talked about: pedestrian wayfinding systems, ADA accessible sidewalks, new crosswalks, and then walkability or bikeability assessments and audits. Lastly, for healthy students in schools, for planning and design, plans and designs for physical activity, and then construction of new playground structures, adaptive recreation, exercise equipment. And I should have said too that these are just a small list of the examples in the RFA. There is much more that you'll find in the RFA. Here's some photos of some healthy students in schools projects: new refurbished indoor and outdoor fitness courts, new playground equipment, and ADA accessible playground equipment. And now Kelly Parker, Director of Grants Management, will go over the timeline and application submissions.
Thanks, Andrew. Good morning. Happy October, everyone. It's really great to see you all. So thank you for joining this webinar this morning. The timeline follows for the Built Environment Physical Activity RFA. We released it last Tuesday, September 23rd, and the applications are open in our funding portal as well. The last day to submit questions regarding the RFA is October 24th, and applications are due by 4 p.m. on November 18th. The TSET Board of Directors will make awards at their March 26th board meeting, and the grant will start on July 1st, 2026. So as I mentioned, the TSET funding portal is open and applications must be submitted via that portal. So if you need any assistance with the funding portal, including registration, we have an inbox for all those questions. So email portalhelp@tset.ok.gov if you have any questions or issues with the funding portal. So please do not wait until the deadline to submit, as technical assistance cannot be guaranteed at the last minute. If you do realize, though, that you've made a mistake or omitted something or just want to update something in your application, you can do that in the funding portal before the deadline. So you can just get back in, make any changes, but it's really important to note that any changes must be saved and then you have to resubmit your application. So make sure you hit that submit button again if you do go in and make any changes after you've already submitted your application. Really important to remember, the RFA is a PDF document that has to be downloaded in Adobe Acrobat Reader, and in order to access all of the appendices and attachments. So once you have that downloaded in Adobe, there's a side navigation pane, there's a little paperclip, click on that paperclip, and then that will open up all of the attachments and appendices that are referenced in the RFA. A reminder to just read the RFA carefully and make sure that all required documents are submitted with your application. So as Andrew mentioned, our applications do go through 2 reviews, a technical review and a full review. So the technical review, we're really just making sure that everything is answered, all your documents that are required are submitted. And then if everything is submitted and meets our requirements, then they will move on to full review. And we have internal and external reviewers that really get into the meat of your application, reviewing the sections and your proposed projects. So a frequent missing requirement is the workers' compensation documentation, which has 2 components. So the first part of this requirement is attachment A in the RFA, which is the workers' compensation insurance coverage certification. So it has to be signed and submitted. And then the second requirement, the second component of this requirement is a copy of your actual workers' compensation coverage policy, or if you're exempt from this policy, if they're kind of your employees are all volunteers or you're exempt from this requirement, a statement of exemption is required. So again, there's 2 components, there's 2 drop fields in the funding portal for these requirements: the certification dated and signed, and then also a copy of your policy or your statement of exemption. And another reminder, the tobacco-free and workplace wellness policies must be signed and dated, as well as meeting all of the required components of those policies. This is just another thing that we kind of see frequently. So I wanted to point these 2 things out just as a reminder to make sure that you are submitting all of the required documents and that they are signed and dated. So again, the funding portal is open and you have to register for an account to be able to apply. So we have a lot of resources such as job aids and instructional videos that are available to you if you need help. And those are all on the website. And if you need help, again, just email. To register, you'll just need your name, your role at your agency, your federal employee identification number. That will kind of sync up all of the accounts to your main organization account, and then your email and a password of your choice. question and answers, we have a public process for answering any questions. As I mentioned earlier, the last day to submit those questions is October 24th, but any question about this funding opportunity must be submitted in writing via the website. So there's a web form linked on the website. Just enter your question, send it off to us, and then we'll get them answered on the website. Do want to point out that this does include current grantees. So if you're a current grantee and you have questions, shoot it on the website so that all questions are answered publicly. And that really just ensures fairness across all potential applicants, that they're getting the same information. So questions and answers will be posted on October 15th and November 5th. Questions received after 4 p.m. on October 25th may not receive a response, but we will try our best to get everything answered and on the website. When submitting a question, really try to be concise and clear about your question, including the page number and section references if able to. And again, we will post Q&A to the website, so make sure that you're checking the website on those days listed for answers to your questions. We do not typically respond to questions about whether an organization's specific project is eligible for a TSET grant. So you should really just read the RFA to determine if your project aligns with our mission and that RFA's specific scope of work. If you do need any assistance with the RFA or the documents, again, if you're unable to find that little paperclip icon or have any other issues, send an email to grantsmanagement@tset.ok.gov and we will help you out. This is a really great reminder to all applicants to make sure that your applications are accurate and that you're confident in the details that you have submitted in your grant application. Major changes to your grant application after award may not be able to be accommodated depending on the change. So some examples of major changes include changes in the scope of work or your purpose of your grant or what your project is, changes to the project site that you mentioned in your application, and then major shifts in a project plan or budget. There are 2 barcodes on this slide, or QR codes, excuse me, that you can scan and sign up for email alerts if anything is changed or updated to the TSET Built Environment Grant specifically. And then there's another QR code here to sign up for notifications on upcoming TSET grant funding opportunities. Thank you. I'll hand it back over to Amanda.
Thank you, Kelly, and thank you all for joining us for the TSET Built Environment Physical Activity Application webinar. This recording and a PDF of the slides will be on the TSET website within 2 working days. And again, we thank you for your interest in being a part of TSET's work to improve the health of all Oklahomans. And I will put the QR codes back up, and we thank you very much.